All right, lovies. It's me, Matt Boothman. You might know me as merely Matt on various social medias around the internet. You might also know me as a director of Foggy Outline and as the creator and lead writer of an audio drama called I Need a Miracle, which is what we're here to celebrate today. It's nearly 2 years since I Need a Miracle first started coming out on podcatchers. So August 2024 was when the first episode came out. And so to celebrate coming up on 2 years of the show being out, and also to prep for crowdfunding a second season, which we're thinking of starting to do in around end of August, beginning of September, we're revisiting all those season 1 episodes that came out 2 years ago. So if you enjoyed the series back then when it first came out, then this is a chance to listen back to some of those episodes again. Maybe see if your response to them has changed or you notice anything new in them since you last listened. And if you never listened to the show, if this is your first time hearing about it or discovering about it, then this is a way to discover the series for the first time. Or maybe you're somewhere halfway between. Maybe you listened to a couple of episodes. Maybe you've only listened to the preview clips on Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts, and you want to listen to the whole episodes. Maybe you're here for the backstage gossip, because I am going to share a bit of backstage process stuff, some old drafts, so that we can see how the episode started versus how they turned out, and maybe some stories from recording day as well. I will do my level best to keep an eye on the chat throughout this stream. If you tried to join for the very first one of these, you'll have noticed there were lots of technical difficulties and the whole thing is very stoppy-starty, lots of lag, lots of buffering. I think I seem to have sorted most of those problems for this stream. YouTube's certainly telling me that the stream is healthy. One of the things that I've done, one of the settings that I've tweaked to try to make this stream run better than that first one, is that I have upped the latency, which means that there's a little bit of a delay between me talking or me running the episode and you seeing and hearing it. And one of the knock-on effects of that is that if you talk in chat, it might take me a bit to respond. I won't be able to respond in real time because I'm operating on a bit of a time delay, or you're operating on a bit of a time delay, one of those ways around. But if you do comment in chat, I will get round to responding to it. If you want to ask questions about the show, about the crowdfunding, about Foggy Outline, about the process, about the previous drafts, about inspirations, about the world building, if anything happens in the episode that makes you go, what on earth is actually going on right here? Please do ask questions in the chat and I'll try to get round to them. Just be aware that I can't do that in perfectly real time. This is going to be a reasonably low-key, low-energy, and probably relatively short stream tonight, partly because it's still reasonably warm here in the UK. So I don't want to strain my venerable MacBook Pro that is running this stream. I suspect a large part of what was wrong with the stream last week was that it was too hot. We were in the middle of a heat wave. It was about 34 or 35 degrees in here. And I think it was melting my laptop, my microphone, me, the internet cables, and all of our brains at the same time. So that may have been a reason why it wasn't working properly. I've tweaked other settings as well. Hopefully this goes better. So yes, partly it'll be a low energy and relatively short stream because it's quite hot. And the other reason is I've just got back off holiday. I'm still slightly in holiday mode. I haven't fully recovered. I'm quite tired. So I'm not going to outstay my welcome here. I think that's all of the housekeeping needed before we get into the listening part of the listening party, the thing that hopefully most of us are all here for. So, a brief introduction. If you're not aware, if you are one of those people who's coming to I Need a Miracle fairly cold and haven't listened to much of it and don't know much of what it is, it's the audio drama where every episode is a prayer. Some prayers are answered, and a prayer granted by a miracle can upend the world. It's a microfiction show, so all the episodes are quite short. It's a monologue show, so every episode is a single character performed by a single actor. A snapshot of a world where prayers are directly answered by unmistakable, inarguable divine intervention, and the slow realization of what that can mean for a world. Our secondary tagline is, "Can any world survive a benevolent God?" Last week's episode, or the first episode, and last week's listening party subject was all about an artist who wants to create a physically impossible artwork that he's seen in a dream and asks for a miracle to change the laws of physics to make that possible. We have a slightly less grand, slightly more human scale episode for you this week. This is episode 2 of I Need a Miracle season 1. It's called To Understand Porphyra, and it's performed by the fantastic Mr. Harry Myers, who will introduce himself in just a moment.
Foggy Outline presents I Need a Miracle, produced by Wireless Theatre. To Understand Porphyra, written by Matt Boothman, performed by Harry Myers. In your benevolence, I think I need a little miracle. I implore you, as long as it's not too inconvenient, hear my plea and intervene. Oh, you. Well, I wasn't sure if you'd be... But, well, what it is, you see, is I'm just a little bit worried that... Well, no. It's more that I think Porphyra here is trying to tell me something. Or actually, I don't just think it, I'm sure of it. It's all right. It'll be all right in a minute. As long as it wouldn't cause a problem or anything, I'd feel a lot better if I knew what was on her little mind. I think it might be important. She's being very insistent. Aren't you? You are. You see, it was just the last time she got like this, all fidgety, twizzling up and down my arm like she doesn't know where to be. Well, I wondered what could be wrong with her. Usually she's my calm centre. She's been with me through the last 3 or 4 upheavals, and even those weren't enough to get her in a twist, so It did rather worry me, wondering what could possibly be bothering her now, if she's not bothered by the whole world turning upside down. And it occurred to me then to do this very thing I'm doing now. To send up a plea to you in your benevolence. I thought I could ask for a miracle. I could find out exactly what's the matter. But then I told myself not to be so silly. There was probably just a new smell, I thought. Something in the atmosphere making her agitated. Nothing to worry about. Not worth a whole miracle just to set my mind at ease. It wasn't until later that I realised that it was too late by then. But afterwards, looking back, I realised she first started doing it when that boy started dropping by. Somehow you knew, didn't you, little one? He told everyone, the boy. He told us all he'd just found his first calling. He wanted to create homes for people, he said. Homes that were comfortable to live in and beautiful to be in. He said he needed to see as many different homes as he could, as many different ways to live as possible. Well, he needed to see what people love about their homes, he said, as well as what frustrates them. The boy seemed very genuine to me when he spoke. I thought I detected the feeling I recall feeling whenever I found a calling I just couldn't resist. Filled up with bubbles, he seemed, when he spoke about homes and what they mean. Propelled by something, he seemed. Well, I suppose perhaps it was genuine. But of course it wasn't the truth. Not the whole of it. The boy wanted to look at our homes, all right. A good look at all our entrances and exits is what he wanted more than anything else, it turned out. A good look at where we all keep our keepsakes. If I'd realised sooner what it meant, why little Porphyra was acting strangely all of a sudden, then perhaps I could have done something. And perhaps McStenderin across the terrace wouldn't have lost all their lovely instruments to that boy and his gang of thieves. Or so, actually, in fact, looking back at it now, it wouldn't have been such a silly thing to ask you after all. Could have saved McStenderin and the rest of the community a lot of sorrow. I could have, I mean. So I decided then that if sweet Porphyra here started acting oddly again, I wouldn't make the same excuses a second time. So, here I am beseeching you. It would only be a little miracle. Could you just tell me what it is? What she's trying to say to me this time? Or I'm sorry, I hope it's all right to wobble like this. Could you perhaps make it so I understand her all the time? If that's not too much, it might mean I don't have to bother you like this again. I never do like to impose. I know, my lovely, I know. She's been like this since yesterday eve, poor thing. Full of fears and agitation. Can't settle anywhere. Can't get comfortable. Skin to skin or over my sleeve. Wound tight around my elbow or draped around my neck or I even lost her for a few moments between the cushions. She burrowed right in there. Even remottled herself to blend in. Really scared half to death. And I don't want to think it, really. Only yesterday was when I brought Brynny here to our home. The first time he shared the air with Porphyra. Brynny seems... He seems so... But I'd made up my mind that if this happened again, I'd do my best to make sure. I don't want to let something happen again. Something like with the boy, if it doesn't have to happen. I really, really hope that isn't what it is. I really hope it is just a new smell this time that she's getting all wound up over. I really thought... I was hoping with Brinny. But if something like that is happening again, I need to know. I need to know if I'm setting myself up for... to know if it's a warning. If she's warning me of something. I did try to ask around before resorting to this. Without making it sound like he'd done anything, because he hasn't, not as far as I know. I wouldn't want to raise anyone's suspicions if there's really nothing to worry over. That wouldn't be fair. Not to someone like... He's just so... At least I think he is. But nobody could tell me anything. Only sweet little Porphyra. There's something she desperately wants me to know, but even after so long, after I raised her from an egg, I don't understand. Or, I suppose I think I do. But I need to know. Before I do anything about it, I need to be sure. That's it. That is my plea. In your benevolence, I beseech you, having heard, to please intervene. We just need a little miracle. Please grant it to us.
I Need a Miracle is a Foggy Outline podcast produced by Wireless Theatre, directed by Robert Valentine, produced by Sarah Golding, casting by Fiona Thraille, broadcast assistance by Teresa Milewski, music by Catherine Seaton, sound design by Sarah Buchynski, recorded by Stephen H. at Jukebox Studios. Find more audio gold at wirelesstheatrecompany.co.uk and foggyoutline.com. Thank you for listening. And as I say there in the credits, thank you for listening. Isn't Harry good? Put so much vulnerability into that performance. And here's the backstage trivia for this episode, which isn't explicitly called out in the credits. Is that Harry's playing both the characters here. Harry is playing both the lover, who's the main speaker, and his pet Porphyra, who is some sort of creature. This is one of the... I think from episode 1, other than the fact that there is this presumed benevolent deity that people are praying to, or that this one artist is praying to and expecting real results, I think you probably could come away from episode 1 with the conception that maybe this is sort of a different version of our world, or an alternate history, or our world after some sort of change. Here it becomes clear this is... Well, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I suppose it'd be interesting to hear what any of you think, how any of you interpret this. There is this strange, possibly serpentine creature that the lover has as a pet, that he raised from an egg, as Harry says, that winds around all of his arms and legs and things all the time and makes these cool noises, which Harry made with his human mouth. We asked him if he was game, or director Rob and producer Sarah had this idea on the day in the recording booth. or it might have been in the table read. I forget exactly when the idea first cropped up of Harry doing the creature noises as well. And he was extremely game for it and stood there in front of the mic after having done 2 takes of the monologue itself. Stood there in front of the mic on the other side of the glass in the recording booth for a good 10 minutes just making weird noises with his mouth, which Sarah Buchynski, our sound designer, then took and put through some filters and things to make them sound even more alien and cool. And that gives us Porphyra, clearly a creature not of our world. We start to get a few other kind of world building details in this one. I guess because, well, I said this on the sort of lost first stream that I assume nobody's watched back because the quality is so bad. But I didn't write these episodes in order. I didn't have an arc planned out when I created season 1. I wrote a bunch of different monologues exploring this idea, and then I bodged them into an order and worked out a kind of overall arc that they were all building towards, and worked out which of these miracles get granted and what the knock-on effects of that might be on the future episodes. But it's worked out rather well that episode 1 gives us lots about the character, and it's an introduction to the god, I think, more than it is to the world necessarily. Whereas in this one, the lover drops a few sort of key world building keywords, bits of lore jargon like upheavals, where you can sort of hear the capital U as Harry says that word, which I don't think it's really explicit in this one, but that is how people refer to the disruptive effects when somebody asks for a miracle and it's granted and it affects everybody else in the world in some way, changes life in a fundamental way that you now have to get used to because it's just the way life is now. That's an upheaval. And the lover talks about Porphyra having been with him through various different upheavals and not really batting an eyelid. And we get this idea of callings as well, sort of capital C callings, which in a world like this, sort of divine intervention on tap almost, some of the kind of fundamentals of the world building are everybody lives quite a long time, because I feel like that would just be one of the first most common desires. I keep hesitating to say wishes because that makes it sound much more like a genie story or like an obsession, be careful what you wish for kind of story. But well, yeah, one of the first and kind of most persistent desires I'm sure people would have would be more time. Can we live longer? Can we not lose people to disease? Can we not have kind of arbitrary end of life if we don't want to? If we want to carry on, please let us. Explore this a little bit more in episode 3, where somebody has an accident. So everybody lives quite a long time, and sort of your needs can kind of be met, like your material needs can be met pretty easily by magic, by divine intervention. Or kind of there's no need for there to be like toil for toil's sake. And so we end up with this idea of callings that over a long life, maybe several hundred years of life, you kind of decide to dedicate yourself to some sort of pursuit, some sort of calling, whether that's an artistic one or discovering new knowledge, helping people in some way, and that you devote yourself to something for a little while and probably like master it and then need to find something else to devote yourself to because everyone's living hundreds of years. You probably run out of it's possible to get bored of things, even things you're very good at. So we get both of those name dropped, the idea of upheavals and the idea of callings. That will have been a later addition. Once I got the order of scripts sort of set down, I then had a think about what's the order in which to trickle out these world building details, so that it's not too much all at once, which is what people end up calling an info dump. It feels like an info dump if you're getting hit with too many world building details all at the same time, with not enough of a break, or not enough time to process them as they come in. So once I got the order of episodes nailed down, one of the questions then was, when do we start dropping this idea of upheavals? When do we drop this idea of callings? When do we make it clear that people are living a long time? That kind of thing. And I then did a pass back through all of the scripts to add those details in appropriate places. Hopefully it comes through organically now in the now that everything's finished, and because you can't see behind the curtain and can't see the stitching behind the embroidery, hopefully it comes across as natural rather than a clanging drop of a world building lore detail. I really like that image of somebody being filled up with bubbles, like as a metaphor for enthusiasm that the lover says about this boy whose calling turned out to not be architecture and home building, but actually be thievery. So again, I suppose another world building detail being dropped in this episode, that it's not a utopia just because divine intervention exists and just because miracles happen and desires can be granted. Another interesting question to explore: if miracles can be granted and you can have anything that you want, why steal? And of course we do find out later on, again, this is something made explicit in the next episode, that not all desires are granted. So maybe that's part of an answer to that. And it's really nice having these two episodes back to back. David Holt's episode, A Dream Come True, about the artist and his impossible artwork, and this one, To Understand Porphyra. Not only for the different scale of the desires. I want to build a tower that's so tall it ought not to be able to stand as an act of worship. Please change the laws of physics so I can do that. And can I please know that I'm safe? Or like, can I know what my non-human pet is trying to tell me? Can I understand an animal? The artist asks in a very... The artist's appeal is kind of weirdly logical for somebody who's an artist. And I guess this is an artist who's had to occupy themselves with questions of physics and engineering calculations and stress and that kind of thing. So maybe he's a bit of a more... are a bit more of a pragmatist than a kind of head in the clouds artist. But they ask in an almost kind of logical way, you sent me, or I have dreamed of this tower. Presumably the dreams came from you. Why would you send me dreams of something that it's impossible to make in the world that you created? So by that logic, wouldn't you want to grant me the ability to make the thing that you have granted me the dreams of? I think the artist asks in quite with a bit of an expectation of it being granted, and there's a lot of that appeal is, we've put in so much work, we just need you to get us the last 10 meters of the mile, just get us over the finish line. We've done everything we can. We have exhausted every avenue and are positive that there's no way this can happen except by divine intervention now, so please. And then for the lover here, it's almost... I think this is a higher stakes ask. And it almost pains me to say that as somebody who does create art. Creating art is high stakes, and if you have an artwork you want to make and want it to exist so much, then asking for the means to make it possible does feel very high stakes. But also, what are the consequences if the artist doesn't get what they want? A thing they want to build doesn't get built, or has to be built in a slightly compromised way. Not the end of the world. What happens if the lover doesn't get what they want? Maybe they get taken advantage of. Maybe somebody that they're considering as possibly a lover, somebody to be vulnerable with, maybe that person hurts them. Maybe emotionally, maybe physically. We don't know what Brynny's possible motivations or intentions might be. Maybe they're horribly malicious, and this seems like a sweet older person who is hoping to be able to open themselves up to something and love. I think that's quite... If he doesn't get what he wants, if he doesn't get what he's asking for, there's potential for great suffering compared to if the artist doesn't. And yet then the way that the lover asks for what they want is so minimizing. And obviously I wrote this, but listening back to this, it's a long time since I listened to any of these episodes. Hearing it with fresh ears again, all of this language around, like, it's only a little miracle, please, if you're not too busy, if it wouldn't put you out too much. This really feels like it's somebody who doesn't really believe that they're anyone important, or that they deserve what they're asking for, or that it's something kind of worthy. And I've said a few times, if you heard my interview with Chris Smith on Audio Alchemy, you'll have heard me say that one of the reasons I wrote this series was because I find it hard to ask for things. And obviously a lot of this language is coming from me. I've used this stuff to say, oh, only if it's not too much trouble, please. And kind of hiding how much the thing you're asking for actually might mean to you. Really putting the feelings of the grantor of the desire first before your own, as the one who actually is doing the desiring. I dug out some old drafts of this script, so let's just see, there's a bit of contrast. Actually, also talking about some of the kind of foundational world building bits of this series, one of the things I found in my notes is the principles for every episode. Obviously you won't be able to see this that well, but there is this kind of principles section, which is an idea that I took from listening to the Good Place podcast, one of those series that they do an episode of the podcast discussing every episode of the TV show and talk to all the creators and the actors and that kind of thing. And one of the things Mike Schur and the other creators of The Good Place talk about is that they had kind of a tick list of things that must be in every episode. And one of those specific things is like something magical or miraculous. And they had to kind of set themselves that as a rule and a principle, because they could see that it would be very easy, once the series is kind of motoring and it's getting it deep into plot, to get too lost in developing character and advancing plot, and kind of forget to keep reinforcing the setting, which is that this is the afterlife. They're in the good place / the bad place / the medium place, depending on the episode that we're talking about. So one of the principles that they set themselves was something miraculous that is impossible in the real world has to happen in every single episode. And I liked that idea of when you're creating a serial story, something that's an episodic narrative, to have some principles that have to be true of every one to make, even if every episode is quite different, and even if you want to get a bit formally experimental with some of them, that there are truths you hold to in every episode that make the whole series hang together and feel more coherent. If we're going to push things in some episodes, what things need to stay the same for it to still feel like it's still the same series all the way through. And so the I Need a Miracle principles for every character that we meet, every character we hear a monologue from, is they desperately want something that is beyond their own control or beyond the ability of humans to create or to grant. They've already asked everyone else and come up short, or can't ask other people for what they want out loud for some reason. So they have to have a reason why they are appealing to the divine for whatever it is that they want. This is their last chance to seize control of their situation, which is not a fundamental truth of everybody who asks for a miracle in this world. It's a fundamental truth of everybody whose prayers we hear in the podcast, which is a distinction, because it's not fun or interesting or dramatic to hear like everyday sort of mundane prayers. We want to hear people at moments of real desperation, just so that we're partly just to give the actors something more to chew on. They justify why they're deserving of a miracle, and their prayer reveals something about the world. So they desperately want something that's beyond the power of humans to grant. They've already asked everyone else and come up short, or can't ask for what they want out loud. This is their last chance to get it or to seize control of the situation that they're in. They always justify why they think they're deserving, and their prayer reveals something about the world. So you can see I break my own rules a little bit all the time. So the idea of they justify why it is they're deserving. The lover in episode 2 that we've just heard is almost trying to justify why they're not. There's a few times they're like, only if it's not too much trouble. Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm wavering. Can I ask for a different thing instead? I'm so sorry. But they still make a case for why it's important for them to get, why it's important for him to get what it is that he's asking for. He tells the story. That's where these stories come from. You know, if we didn't hear people justifying themselves, then some of the prayers might just be, in your benevolence, hear and intervene. I want this. Goodbye. So for it to be a prayer that we actually hear in the show, it needs to be one that they explain or feel like they have to justify, so that the episode is a story and not just a request. Looking back at old drafts, the very, very first draft of this one, and this notebook is from December 19 to December 2020. So that's when and I wrote a good sort of chunk of these in early lockdown to keep myself occupied while I wasn't allowed to go outside. And so this is one of a sequence in this notebook of first drafts of a bunch of different ideas that I was knocking around. So it wasn't the first, again, all out of order. This was not the second script I wrote or the second idea I had. It just ended up being episode 2 in the final shuffle. Big differences from first to final draft. Porphyra's name kept changing. In the very, very first draft, Porphyra was Kuvendra, and then within a few lines became Kuvindra with an I instead. And in the early drafts, the lover gets round to the idea of the actual miracle they're asking for being to understand animals, or to understand this specific animal much quicker. So this one goes, I think my Kuvendra is trying to tell me something. No, not think, I'm sure of it. Could you tell me what it is? I think it might be important. She's being very insistent. Oh, or could you give me the ability to understand her, if that's not too much to ask? It might mean I don't have to keep on petitioning you like this, taking your valuable attention away from other worthies. So the minimizing was there right from the start. I feel like that's a kind of core thing of this character. But in that opening paragraph of the original monologue, I guess I ended up really expanding and exploding that whole journey. Like, the lover goes on the whole journey in this paragraph that now is the entire journey of the whole episode, of going from, the miracle I want is for you to tell me what my pet is trying to say, to actually, could we cut out the middle god, and could you make it possible for her to directly talk to me? So that's a sort of 2-line turnaround in the original draft, which then that turning it round to being, could I understand what Porphyra's saying, that comes much later, as we heard earlier in the final episode. All of the other this one actually, in terms of the main beats and the main sort of parts of the justification, didn't change all of that much. Between first and final, it was pretty much a case of all of the pieces were there in the first draft. It just needed fleshing out a lot more. Just going to my online drafts as well. So pretty much all of these I did a first longhand draft in the notebook, like you just saw, and then typed up that draft into Scrivener. In the process of typing it up, made a bunch of changes. So I obviously I didn't word for word transcribe it. I updated and improved stuff as I was typing, and then did at least one other draft in Scrivener, and then we'll have done more revisions once the order of episodes was set and kind of the overall series arc was there, to drop in more of the world building details. So the first draft I've got snapshotted on Scrivener doesn't have any of those mentions, I don't think, of upheavals or of callings. Porphyra is called Porphyra at this point. I think I'm trying to think which museum it is that has all of the porphyry in it. So porphyry is that kind of red marble that... And now I'm completely blanking on which civilization it is that really, really liked it. Is it the Romans who love porphyry? But I remember seeing like a whole kind of porphyry bathtub or font. And presumably the word just stuck in my head somewhere. Maybe that gives us a hint of what colour Porphyra is. I don't know. But I thought it was a fun name for an actor to say. I think that was one of the ones that we had some pronunciation clarification for in the table read. This idea of Porphyra being something kind of sinuous, so all fidgety, twining up and down my arms like she doesn't know where to be, that was there pretty much from the off. But yeah, it looks like that previous draft that didn't change too much. This one was reasonably well locked. Quite an easy episode to edit. It was kind of all there from the start. So that's episode 2 of season 1 of I Need a Miracle. Like I said up top briefly, we are going to crowdfund starting end of August to start production on a second season. The big difference that we're going to have in season 2 is that other people are going to write some scripts. So I wrote all 12 episodes of season 1. now that season 1 is out there and has been a finalist for some awards and has been accepted to some festivals and has got some listeners, found some audience, season 2 is going to be all about kind of opening things up a bit more, exploring some different ideas in the world, some new upheavals, new callings, new kind of fundamentals potentially, and crucially just bringing in some different voices, so it's not just 12 more episodes of my point of view or my take on what this world would be like and what sort of things people might ask for. So the first stage crowdfunding is going to be to raise the funds to pay a bunch of writers to write some new scripts. And we've got the likes of Ella Watts, Rhys Lawton, Michelle Kelly and Fiona Howard all lined up, and some other names that I am not allowed to reveal yet, but will be revealed in due course. We're going to crowdfund initially enough for 6 scripts. We are an everybody gets paid sort of organisation here at Foggy Outline. So we're going to pay BBC rates, which is £250 per episode for episodes of this length. So that's the main thing that this initial round of crowdfunding is going to be for, to pay for 6 episodes. So £250 an episode for 6 episodes, plus casting. And plus a bit of story consultancy to do that bit I've been talking about, where we look at all of the episode pitches and think, before we ask writers to actually go ahead and plunge in and write their scripts, to think, well, what's going to be the right order to air these in, what order are the ideas going to come out in, what will be the overall arc or the overall big question that we're asking in this season. So it'll be for 6 episode fees, a story consultancy fee to work out the arc and kind of brief the writers on, please can you drop a reference to this into your episode, and then casting. Because we can't cast until we've got scripts, but as soon as we have even kind of episode ideas or pitches, we can start the casting process. And then when we get around to crowdfunding for the rest of production, once the scripts are all finished and done, and casting is in place, and we're in a position where we can crowdfund to actually get the episodes recorded and edited and made, we will have actors attached, which will make crowdfunding easier, so I'm told. So keep an eye out, keep joining these streams if you've been enjoying, or watching them on the on demand once they're up. You can follow me on Blue Sky, Tumblr, and Instagram at Merely Matt. You can follow the show on Instagram at in.your.benevolence and on Tumblr at inyourbenevolence with no dots. You can listen ahead if you want to spoil yourself. You don't want to wait to listen to the episodes week by week on the listening parties. You can find the show at foggyoutline.com/I Need a Miracle, which has all the links that you need to find and add I Need a Miracle to your podcast app, or go into your podcast app and search for I Need a Miracle. Next week's episode, not next week's. So here's a housekeeping thing. I'm not doing one of these streams next Monday because I'm busy, but we'll pick up with episode 3 the following Monday. That episode stars Saffron Coomber and has lots more interesting, meaty world building details about how some prayers do and don't get answered, and whether people would use divine intervention for very mundane things. But if you don't want to wait 2 weeks, you can just listen on the podcast itself, and then maybe come to the listening party in 2 weeks with some thoughts and ideas and questions, if you like. You can support us. The crowdfunding isn't live yet, but you can still support Foggy Outline and I Need a Miracle on Ko-fi. So you can go to ko-fi.com/foggyoutline. and give us a donation, a one-off donation of any size, as much or as little as you feel happy to give. It all goes into the kitty for producing shows like this, producing projects like this, upgrading equipment, paying for our website hosting fees, all that kind of stuff, to keep us going and keep us able to create more shows. You can also sign up as a monthly subscriber on Ko-fi to give us a small amount every month, if that works better for you. Like the inestimable Churlington Beastcoat, our most loyal Ko-fi subscriber. Thank you once again, Churlington Beastcoat, for your support. So you can follow me on social media. You can follow the show on social media. Instagram, Tumblr, Blue Sky are the main places. Oh, I am on Reddit as well. You can kind of seek me out there, and I'll probably be doing an AMA at some point between August and September. You can find more about the show in my interview on the Audio Alchemy podcast, which you can find on YouTube on the CS Reacts channel, or searching your podcast app for Audio Alchemy, where I talk a lot more about some of the other stuff I've written, and also a bit more about the process of making this show. And those are this is all I'm building up to. All of those social media channels are the places to follow along if you're interested in sort of knowing when the crowdfunding starts and what the rewards are going to be and all of that kind of thing. And our newsletter. We have a button-down newsletter at buttondown.com/foggyoutline. It's monthly, and it includes updates on I Need a Miracle, on Merely Role Players, my actual play podcast, the various serial fiction that I publish on foggyoutline.com, the environmental awareness training courses that we offer. We just launched a brand new one called Doing Business on a Sick Planet, which is for if you run a small business and you want to make sure that you're making environmentally friendly and conscious business decisions. It's a self-guided course that helps you do that. But I'm getting slightly off topic. Follow me at Merely Matt on Blue Sky, Instagram, or Tumblr. Connect with me on LinkedIn if you'd like to, Matt Boothman. And subscribe to the newsletter at buttondown.com/foggyoutline for news about the future of I Need a Miracle, reveals of who's going to be writing season 2 episodes, news on when the crowdfunding is starting, and news on what sort of rewards we'll be offering. Or if you can't wait to support, or you've got the money now but you might not have it in August and September, head on over to ko-fi.com/foggyoutline and drop us a donation there. I promise it'll go in the kitty for this show. In fact, drop a comment on your donation saying that you're here, you're donating because of the listening party or because of I Need a Miracle. We'll earmark those funds for you. It's been a long wrap up, and I said this was going to be a short stream tonight, but I got a second wind and have managed to go for longer than I thought. There was lots of interesting stuff to talk about. If you've been watching live, thank you so much for joining. If you're watching on the video on demand, thank you very much for supporting. Leave a comment if you've got questions still, and I'll try and answer your questions on the next stream. Drop us a like, subscribe to the channel, follow the podcast, all of those things. No stream next Monday because I'll be busy actually doing things like the Foggy Outline annual general meeting and planning for crowdfunding and that kind of stuff. But 2 weeks time at the same time, 2 weeks, so a week on next Monday, a fortnight from right now, I will be live again with Season 1, Episode 3 of I Need a Miracle, which is called Forget All About Me. Thank you very much.